I'm looking kind of lopsided today. What's that about? Anywho, what's up, y'all? Maybe I need to turn this off so we won't be so bright in the background. I am so under the weather. I'm so under the weather. And for this new year, I have made plans to dedicate myself to YouTube. I said this months ago, but I didn't keep my promise. Um, which is something I'm working on myself with. But girl, my glasses, I can't. But y'all, this time for real, I don't even like social media anymore. The only social media that I do like is YouTube. So I think that I'm gonna be dedicating a lot more of my time here in this space. And plus the money is better on YouTube. At least that's what I heard. And again, y'all please excuse my appearance. I'm still beautiful, but I'm beautifully sick. That's why my eyes look swole, my face, everything looks crazy. But this is how you know I don't care. Like when it comes to delivering content and what it is that I want to say. Hold on, let me close my door. When it comes to those things, how I show up doesn't matter as much as the message is being delivered. If anybody wants to nitpick my appearance, again, I'm sexy, and you know it. It's just I look real crazy. I just look sick. I look sick, and that's it. But I have to make these disclaimers only because, first of all, I like the rambles, the ADD in me, and also the neurodivergent period, and let alone all of those things. I just know how the average person thinks. They look at you, and some people expect you to always be dolled up. They're going to make fun of the appearance when you're natural. They want you one way, but well, they say they want you one way, but when you show up that way, they don't like it. Sounds like the world, right? So we're gonna talk about that too, because this is the patriarchy. What happens when you realize you're in the patriarchy? Let me tell you a few things I want to talk about today. First of all, because this is coming from a woman, I know y'all gonna think this is gonna be so male bashing. It's not male bashing. It's actually holding people accountable. And you're going to hear me talk about women. But one thing I will realize, first thing I realize about living in the patriarchy is when I make messages against things that women do, the men don't see it, right? They don't see it or they don't care about it. You know what I'm saying? Because somehow they might benefit from the bullshit that women be doing. Some of it, right? But when I talk about how women are very entitled to men and what men do and what they offer, and I could talk about how how women are very emotionally manipulative to men. I could talk about all these things, right? And when I talk about them, first of all, women don't even fight me most of the time. They agree with me because women can see other women. Men, they don't fight me on it either. Now, when I talk about how men act, the negative atrocities of the masculine, somehow I'm always under scrutiny and attack from men. And it's because it's coming from a woman. So let's pretend that I'm the little boy that I sound like today. Right? Since I'm sick, let's pretend that I am the young man that I sound like today. And focus on the message and not the message. But you want to know what's so weird about living in a patriarchy? The thing about men is men, the way that they value themselves is literally a contradiction to the true value of men, right? Men in the patriarchy, in this society, value themselves on money, how much money they can get, how many women they can get, and the quality also of the woman that they choose. That is the man's value in the patriarchy. Can't tell me I'm lying because it's kind of evident. So, what's wrong with that is why so many men resort to the negative atrocities that they do. If men actually truly value themselves individually and recognizing the soul that exists within their body, the personality that has come to develop on this earth, if they could really value themselves outside of all of that other bullshit that I just said, that really is not a direct correlation of a man's value, period. But if they could just really get to the real value of men, we will be in such a better state. Everybody's telling women to love themselves. I think it's always this thing with women. Everybody love yourself. I mean, we say it to everybody, but we really focus it on women. Men need this focus way more than women. Men do not love themselves. Despite their privilege, their male privilege in the patriarchy, they still do not really love themselves. If they really love themselves, the self-assisted, the suicide, the homicide that they commit, the SAs they commit, it wouldn't be so prevalent. How they move in relationships with each other and with women, it wouldn't be so bad. And we can sit here and we could try to act like the masculine, and when I'm gonna say the masculine, because I've ran into this with stud women too, with mask presenting women. The problem that they have is the ego is so self-indulgent into what society has told them the role of the masculine should be, right? And again, like I said, it's fake, y'all. Anybody telling you a generalization of how to be a man or even how to be a woman, that shit is fake. Because there is no general rule to life. Everything is case by case basis. Everybody is different. And we can't just have this one size fits all thing to life, because that's not a realistic thing, right? But when you realize that you are in the patriarchy, you realize that men operate on this same wavelength. It's like they read from, I'm sorry, I need to bring this down. So it's like they read from the same handbook of what manhood and masculinity should be. And the reason I'm going to say that with full conviction is because every woman I know knows the same type of man, archetype of man. Every woman I know knows that same archetype of man. And there's probably maybe 3 or 4 archetypes of man, right? And I might be being generous, and I'm going to try to name them. You have the man who is eclectic, right? He's different. We call these the nerds, the geeks. He doesn't really appeal much to the feminine. Not because he doesn't want to, but because he is so into a different type of lifestyle and world and mindset that he doesn't typically attract the typical woman. Excuse me. So follow me again. That's archetype number 1. That's the nerds, eclectic types, kind of like the castaways, right? Then you have Mr. Popular, right? Mr. Popular is the one who all the girls like and all the guys want to be like. Okay. Now you got him, and then you got the Mr. Popular sidekick. Mr. Popular's sidekick is Mr. Popular's best friend. Secretly, he wish he was more like Mr. Popular. But because he gets to hang out with Mr. Popular, they are best friends, he still gets those same privileges that Mr. Popular gets to a certain extent. Of course, he can't get all the privileges because he's not him. He's not him. But he still benefits from being around Mr. Popular. And then you have the guy who kind of fall in the middle of all three of those archetypes. But out of all three to four of those archetypes, every single last one of them is looking for male approval. Males look and seek for male approval. Females also seek for male approval. So, who is seeking female approval? Nobody. We live in a patriarchy, which means that anything that is feminine is shunned. And if you don't believe me, why is it that men attack feminine things? Men attack false nails, men attack weave, men attack wigs, men attack makeup, men attack feminine affirming care. Feminine. What the fuck did I just say? Gender affirming care, because even when you're not a trans person, women still undergo a lot of gender affirming care. Men attack a lot of the things that women enjoy. Men attack emotions. Men attack emotional conversations. Men attack creativity that's outside of the box, especially. They attack it in both men and women. Of course, they're going to attack it more in men that are feminine, because that's not right. I'm airing up air quotes because I don't believe that. But they're going to attack it more so in men than they do women, but they still attack women who are feminine. You can't go out here as a woman and be your fully feminine self. That shit will, I said it before in a previous video, that shit, you'll be eaten alive. When I was out here being my most feminine self to everybody, right? Because I'm still feminine. I reserve my femininity for my family, for my significant other, for myself, right? But when I wasn't in a space where I was preserving that, and that was when I was much younger, I was a very girly girl when I was young. But when I was that way, I was under attack. And I had to experience something very tragic as early as 5 years old, which kind of stripped me from that girly thing, because I felt like because I was girly, I was attacked. So, living in the patriarchy means, like I said, you'll experience things such as people literally giving you the negative attributes of your counterpart. So, for example, when people say women are more emotional, no, we're not more emotional. We're more emotionally expressive, because men still hold emotions, but because they are suppressed in their expression of emotions, that is why the suicide rate is so high, why the homicide rate is so high, why the SA rate is so high. They suppress. That's all they're good for when it comes to emotions, right? And what happens with that suppression is everybody suffers. I said this before on my TikTok, that when one of us is not well, all of us are not well. The whole health of humanity is based on all of us collectively. And collectively, we are very unwell. And it's because we are in a patriarchy. We are in a male-centered society. And that's not to say that it should be feminine-centered. That is to say that a society should be self-centered. And when I say self-centered, I'm not saying in a negative connotation, because people have made the term self-centered to be something very negative. No, everybody should be worried about themselves first, which goes back to my original point that if men actually cared more about themselves, how they felt collectively together and individually themselves, we would live in a much, much better world. Because the whole love yourself thing being pointed only to women is the assumption that men actually already love themselves. No, they don't. Men don't love themselves. They know how to look out for their own interests. And that's one thing that I have learned, and what I actually admire about men is their unmitigated gall, the gumption, the audacity that they have. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them collectively are in a constant state of delusion. They be so out of touch with reality, and that's because they don't work to understand anything outside of the masculine. But we live in a dual world, baby. The masculine ain't shit without the feminine, and vice versa. We need both energies. We need both. So their lack of understanding us, and women also, again, not to like I said earlier, women have a lack of understanding of men, but not in a way of undervaluing men. I think most women overvalue men, which is, like I said, women are looking for the approval of men just like men are. Nobody seeks the approval of women. Men seek the conquering of women. They don't seek the approval of women. And again, like I said, because what did I say at the top of this video? Because a man's value is based on, excuse me, how much money he has, how many women he can have or did have, and the quality of the woman that he chose. So if a man can go out here and fuck up 1,000 bitches, most motherfuckers gonna look at him like he's the man. If a man and I have to say it that way because that's how men talk. But if a man has $1 million, he's that man. If a man wives a woman who is beautiful but also virtuous, like Savannah James, that's the only person I could think of when I think about a woman who every man, especially a black man, would want to marry because she's a good representation of what a wife should be. So, and that's case in point. Even with LeBron, like I could say we don't know that much about LeBron if he had a lot of women, but it don't matter because he got 2 to 3 things that I talked about, and that's gonna make men to assume that he definitely had a lot of women at one point, or he could. You know what I'm saying? So men revere men like LeBron James. They revere men like, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, who, sorry to say, we're going to bring up that rape case and the things that he obviously was getting into. Because even if he didn't rape that girl, if it was consensual, again, he was married. So he was doing what men value. Cheating on your wife ain't bad. Nah, that's what men value. Because why? Why is it bad? I'm adding more notches to my belt. I'm able to have sex with an extra bad woman, another bad woman to add to my list. I'm that nigga. That is the patriarchy. And I think I'm almost done. Hold on. What the? But yeah, to add to it too, a couple things you hear when you realize you're in that patriarchy. Oh, boys are easier to raise than girls. I'm tired of hearing that. I'm tired of hearing women say, nobody can love you like your son. I'm tired of hearing that. Y'all be saying things about men that's not factually true. And I'm one of those people, I delve in the facts. It's 2024. You can look up statistics. Things are not matching up. They're not aligning with what y'all saying. Because if boys are so much easier to raise, why are they so susceptible to other men? Boys get in so much trouble, especially in their teenage years, because it's when they are in that stage, especially if they don't have a solid foundation of father figures in their life, they are so much more easily to be swayed than girls are. Girls, the things that y'all talk shit about girls are bossy. They always talk bad. They so snappy. They so snooty. They so whatever, this, that, and the third. That's because women naturally have our own mind. Now we get shaped by people because we're still human, but more when in comparison to boys, we naturally have our own mind. That's why we come out so sassy, so defiant. But boys do it too. It's just weird that y'all only pinpointed the most in girls. Because again, though, boys always are seeking validation more than girls are. Girls, we keep bringing this back to even Bible. Even though the Bible to me is still made up stories, some of them true, some of them not. I don't know which one is which, and I'm not for to differentiate. But I always refer back to the Bible because there's so many good examples in there. God made Adam first in the Bible because he didn't make man to stand alone. And let's think of it from a scientific point of view. If you make one experiment, your first creation, right? The first creation, which is Adam, he is the first man, the first human. We'll stick with the Bible and we just still incorporating some science in here too. He's the first human, right? God is the scientist of all scientists. Your first experiment is not going to be as productive, as successful as the second time you do it. So God made Adam, and Adam was unable to stand alone. He wasn't the type that could. He needed companionship because he was lonely. So God made woman. He made woman in a way that she knows how to stand alone. Which is why, like I said, girls come out the womb almost having our own minds, not being so easily swayed by other people. And we have to be like this because the whole world is really trying to influence women, like really badly. But that's why we revolted. That's why you had the feminist movement and all these things that came up, because it was like, no, I don't want to be swayed. I don't want to be silenced. I'm still a human being, just like this man over here. This man who actually in the Bible needed me. He needed me. They don't say nowhere in the Bible that a woman need a man. So I don't know, and men get mad at that, but it's true. It's like we need each other collectively because that's how it is. But it was not like that. So women naturally just stand alone. We do. We do. Historically too. We do. We stand alone. Especially black women. Really, that's more who I'm referring to than anybody. I ain't, because the mother was, y'all do everything the white man do. But black women, women of color, but especially black, we stand alone a lot. But back to my original point of y'all say that boys are easier to raise, but no, y'all are not. Y'all are more easy, especially black men. Again, we're gonna have to bring it to race because intersectionality exists for a reason. Um, but it's not even extended just to black men though. But I'm going to speak primarily to black men because y'all, in particular, also are it's this thing where y'all could have a proper function at home. But because, again, society doesn't care about you being a smart black man. We don't praise academia and intellect, and not even just black community, people of color, except for Asians, don't really. So we'll just say black and brown. Leave the Asians out. Black and brown people don't really care as much about academia, especially when it comes to men. So a black boy being smart is going to lead him to be, remember those archetypes of men I was talking about earlier? It's going to lead him to be one of those outcasts sometimes. And honestly, what happens with those the eclectic type of archetype of man, the ones that women don't necessarily flock to, because again, the patriarchy tells us again, what's the value of a man? The value of a man is how many women he can get, the type of woman that he can get, how much money he has. That's collectively too. That's not just men on men. Women think that way too, right? Because that's the effects of the patriarchy. So when you have those outcasted men, they still don't again value themselves, but they also uphold a lot of misogynistic views themselves, because the patriarchy helps them too, because they're going to blame women for their attraction to those other men who have the money and all the other women and the quality women. And that's the problem with women. And they're seeking validation of men or seeking approval of men is the type of man that they seek the approval from, because of the value that the patriarchy has set on what type of man is actually valuable. You see how it all goes hand in hand? I know I've been talking a long time, but if you can actually follow, you'll see how all of this shit just is the patriarchy. It's a problem. All of it. You know what I'm saying? It all affects us all. And boys are not easier to raise. Y'all say that, and then y'all turn around. I'm not saying girls are easier either. Let me come back. But they're not. There's really problems with raising a child, period. Doesn't matter the gender. But one thing about women is, at least you're gonna, if you got a daughter, if you have a good relationship with her, she's gonna take care of you if you get sick when you're old. The men are not. Again, statistics, look them up. Everything I'm saying can be backed. I don't just have opinions for no reason. I have opinions that can be proven with facts. Which in this aspect, we would call it an expert opinion. And I would call myself an expert opinion because I have a master's degree in the psychology field. So we can call me an expert when it comes to psychology. And psychology and sociology kind of go hand in hand, right? So they're all one and the same. But like I was saying though, we gotta stop really uplifting one group because we assume that the other group already loves themselves. We need to tell men how to love themselves. And men really should go ahead and open themselves up to being more vulnerable with each other. Because when y'all say, hey, men suffer in silence, you say that as an attack to women. But the truth is you're really upset that you can't open yourself up to your cohorts, your fellow man. Because I don't know no woman who ain't never heard a man suffer. We all, man, listen. Every man, almost every man, I would say 90% of the guys who I've dated or dealt with intimately, I know the ways that they suffered because it wasn't silent. It was not silent, baby. It was very much loud. If it wasn't loud in their mouth, it was loud from their fist. If it wasn't loud from their fist, it was loud from the games that they played and the manipulation. So it was not the suffering in silence. No, men suffering in silence with other men. And they want to open up with each other so bad. But instead of saying that to each other, what they'll do is they're just gonna blame women for it. We get blamed for the patriarchy. How can women get blamed for patriarchy? We're matriarchs, right? How are we blamed for patriarchy? Black men could vote before women could. So a black man, his maleness gave him more privilege even than women who were not black. A lot of people don't even realize that, like, and that's the thing with intersectionality. That's the thing. That's the problem with that. Because you can't see it. It's kind of sneaky. It's sinister, right? It's, hey, because you are a man, you get these privileges. But because you black, we take these away. So when you are a black man, all you can focus on is what you don't have. You don't see what you do have. But see, as a black woman, we get to see what y'all do have, along with what we get to see what we don't have. And the same thing with white women. When I look at a white woman, yeah, I know you're a woman, but I get to see what you do have because you're white. And that's why so many white women will always align themselves with, I said that earlier, they will align themselves with whiteness, white men. We've seen it in this Trump election. But anywho, I think I'm gonna end on that note, y'all. This I'm gonna be on here a lot more often. I promise it's time for real. I got some things coming up very soon that I'm going to introduce to you guys. Share this video if you see it on the playback. This is gonna be my platform again. Like I said, moving forward, they try to do away with TikTok. Well, I see what's going on there, but I said months ago I need to focus on YouTube. This is my space, so I'm claiming it now for this new year, 2025, and the rest of this year, because I'll probably make a couple more videos for for the end of the year. I want to come on here looking and having things right. I had to just come on here because it was like, girl, you ain't delivered a message online in a long time. I'm not on my Facebook right now. I've deleted all my apps except YouTube. And I'm just like, dude, this is where I need to be. This is where I got to come and tell people what I think, because I don't care if nobody sees it, but YouTube is going to be forever. I feel like everything else might go, but YouTube is forever. All right, y'all, bye.